Let's welcome our audience. Welcome to the Ready, Set, Gemini podcast. I am your host, Dan Mora. Directly across from me,
co-host here, Frank Smithson.
How's it going, Frank?
It's going good.
Yeah.
Was able to beat the heat this weekend.
It's hot.
It was hot.
Thank goodness.
I didn't wear sunscreen at all this weekend. Like, I've built a little bit of a base where I was able to manage. I definitely didn't intentionally stay in the sun, but I was in the water or in the shade and never wore sunscreen.
Wow.
Did pretty good.
Congrats.
Yeah.
I kind of did similar. We did a houseboat with the kids.
Oh,
and
nice.
Just a couple, just going from the shade to the water. And then put sunscreen on.
Nice.
It's risky.
Yeah. And for me, this is like a first. I think it's my old person skin. It can handle getting burnt a little better or something. I'm not sure what it is.
So let's you got any words of wisdom for us? Let's do that first.
Sure. Perseverance. I think it's a important thing to have. I just came through a little season of a lot of work and backlog. I went on a vacation, and then I came back thinking, okay, you're going to catch things up. Then I ended up going to a conference for 2 days. And then I was like, okay, next week I'll catch things up. And then it was 4th of July weekend. It was a 3-day week. And then going directly into a week where I had 2 all-day meetings. One I had to host and another one that was for company planning.
Yeah.
I just buckled down. I put in a 15-hour day one day and an 11-hour day the next and, just focused. And now I feel great.
Yeah.
So do it. Don't complain about it while you're in it either.
A little stretching of your mind and your resources makes you feel good.
Yeah. And even, the 15-hour day, it was not all work. It was also my backyard. I hosted for like 30, 40 people and had to get the backyard cleaned up. And I did it all in one day, which was pretty amazing. I was kind of proud of myself.
I like that. Good words of wisdom.
Yeah.
So our news flashes for this week, I'll kick it off here. This is from June 27th. Bloomberg Law by Lydia Wheeler. U.S. Supreme Court upholds Pennsylvania business registration law. This was a case where a Virginia resident was trying to basically elevate a state issue to the federal level, and the law forced them to settle it back into state courts. This was a workers' compensation situation where the injured worker alleged that the company was liable for negligently exposing him to cancer-causing toxins when he worked for a railroad in Virginia and Ohio. So just a little newsflash on, states' rights.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Hopefully everything works out for the guy.
Yeah.
Exposure to chemicals doesn't sound fun.
Hopefully he's getting taken care of. I think, we'll err on the side of positive.
Sure. So I have 2 news flashes, and both of these are in relation to what we're actually going to talk about for our main topic. The first one, I think we brought this up in a previous episode, but there were some attorneys out there that were using ChatGPT, and the judge called them out, and they made a couple mistakes and got a little bit in trouble, and now they have formally issued an apology, so they're falling on their sword. This was 7 judges, a pair of New York personal injury attorneys apologized Wednesday to several federal and state judges and to a client for submitting a brief prepared by artificial intelligence that cited non-existent case law attributed to the judges, according to copies of the letters filed in the Manhattan federal court. So, beware. Tech is good, but there's still potential for mistakes, right?
Yeah.
And then the next one is also related around AI. Thomson Reuters, they signed an agreement to acquire Casetext. And that's going to be kind of our main topic. We're going to talk a little bit about what Casetext is. So I'll read the headline. It says, TRC, Thomson Reuters, a global content and technology company today announced it has signed a definitive agreement to acquire Casetext, a California-based provider of technology for legal professionals, $650 million.
Wow. That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. The proposed transaction will complete Thomson Reuters' existing AI roadmap and builds on its recent initiatives, including a commitment to invest more than $100 million annually on AI capabilities. I know we want to invest in AI. That kind of freaks me out. $100 million is a lot of money.
Yeah, I had a opportunity to talk at a talk for some MCLE credits recently, and I talked about the adoption window, the adoption of new technologies. And you have the innovators, the early adopters, the early majority, the late majority. Just during that study, it made me realize or put into perspective that this is a cycle, and I think, and I propose that we're still in the early stages. We're still in that early adopter stage, especially when I read, because I did a deep dive on this Thomson Reuters acquisition, and the people that were the firms that highlighted this as a huge win were these giant firms, the biggest firms in the country. And of course, they need to be marketing themselves as early adopters. I think that's important. You look at their website and you look at what they said. They're all, two of them was kind of aggressive, like, if you don't, you're dinosaur age if you don't adopt this. The other two were very much a little bit more conservative. We need to see how this plays out type of thing.
Sure.
So.
Sure. I'm kind of on the, hey, you're a dinosaur if you don't adopt it side of the coin.
But the reality of adoption of technology still has that cycle. Maybe the cycle's faster and likely is faster than we know, but I still don't see the early majority. Like,
yeah, I have some thoughts on that. A lot of people are trying to get into this AI space, and that's all fine and dandy, but I still think it's the people that have the money that are going to just swallow everything up. So this is a perfect example. This Casetext, this is a California company. They were doing their thing. And then Thomson Reuters, like, I mean, I think arguably they're one of the largest in legal support in the nation. They come and they gobble it up, and then now that gives them a little bit more of a
Well, I would also, it's true, except that I would argue, devil's advocate, that still these companies, Thomson Reuters included, are going to make mistakes. This is going to reduce their focus, or it's going to pull their focus into this area, and they're gonna make mistakes. They may win some early battles. Kind of what I was advocating for people that aren't in that early adopter stage is just to keep an eye out. And yeah, you might get beat by some of these early battles because it's a case-by-case battle situation, whatever the case is going down. And but the basics of a litigated case, basics of a claim remain the same.
So with this this model that you're portraying, is there a difference on how that this by the way, this model that you're talking about can be applied to all things for
Correct, yeah.
all of history?
Correct.
With the pace of AI moving way different than what we've seen the pace of anything else,
Theoretically.
And that'll be we'll see soon.
I think you're right. No,
right.
I think you're right.
mean, does that change the game a little bit?
I still, to answer your question, I still think I think it's true. You have innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards. And who's the client in law and workers' compensation case management? Who are the clients? You have the court, which is really important, and the injured worker. And the employer, like those three,
in the law office.
True.
For AI, I mean that's what Casetext is, right? I don't think people have an awareness of what Casetext actually is. So let me read something real quick to you. It says, meet your new AI legal assistant. Co-counsel does document review, legal research memos, deposition preposition, and contract analysis in minutes with results you can trust. So this is powered by ChatGPT-4. Let co-counsel handle an array of critical tasks for superior work at superhuman speed, giving you more time to better serve your clients and grow your business. So they're literally marketing, a legal assistant. So what does this look like for the future? when I say the speed of things and, companies trying to embrace and compete, the laggards, for example, I've waited a long time to get into this thing. And all of a sudden they have these companies that are out there that are potentially replacing bodies, humans, from a workforce. We talk about products as sticky, right? Like a case management system. Once you get on a case management system, to get off of that and get onto a new one is very difficult because it has a stickiness factor. It means you're so enthralled in everything that it does. It's difficult to comprehend changing because all processes then have to change. AI is very similar to that. So how then, if AI is growing at such a pace and you have these big corporate conglomerates like absorbing all these things, how can you be a laggard and catch up with something like that that's already replaced so much of what we know?
I think it's possible because you've already had people testing and have very practical application and experience. Those people are going to spin off. You have a company, for example, it's an early adopter, and you got a disgruntled or somebody that just leaves, or just somebody that gets poached off into a different company. I think in law, and I theorize this. Okay. Again, for my talk, I had to really think about this, and I do feel like that adoption curve is pretty real, and it's real in legal, more real in legal, as we've noticed, right? We've been selling tech for a long time, and we're like, yeah, you guys are the last ones to this industry, the law, and specifically for the courts, the bureaucracy that is California.
Yeah.
If you realize that those areas are laggards, you're like, yeah, okay, I guess I can.
And they'll come around. And I'm, for devil's advocate on your side, I was just thinking of even the big players in the race. Like Elon Musk just recently announced creating a partnership, and he's going to be building an AI company. Yeah. And he's been the one that's kind of like pushing against this idea, but he's on the bandwagon too. So yeah, so even the big players can kind of compete in that same paradigm.
Well, yeah, you heard too, just as an example, you heard when this was all coming out, everybody was like, oh, Google's behind because Microsoft launched this. Yeah. They're not behind by any shape of the imagination.
Yeah. Well, they have a lot of resource to play with, right?
Yeah. And to me, just separating out the marketing and the hype from the actual practical application is pretty.
So there's a lot of good things that are coming with this. Reducing injury has been something that's pretty powerful. I just read an article, Carhartt, the clothing company, they do a lot of work stuff. They were able to dramatically reduce their injury payouts, whatever, by a significant amount. I don't have the article up with me. I wish I
think it was cut in half is what we talked about.
It was cut in half, and it was like $100,000 they saved in like a quarter, something of that nature, like pretty good money. But they're using video technology where the seamstresses that are doing the sewing patterns, there's like a repetitive stress type injury, and it was able to recognize and suggest different methods for doing the seamstress, and it's working, and all the people are super excited too because they see a direct correlation of reducing injury. So there's some really good things that can come.
Yeah.
Now let's take that same paradigm and start to think about, okay, let's stay with the good efficiency gains. So not only are they reducing injuries, but they're probably also recognizing improvements in the method for sewing.
Yeah.
Right. So you have less people that maybe need to do it collectively for all that Carhartt produces. I want to throw a couple other things because this is really about AI in current state, and we're talking a little bit about future as well. So quantum computing and robots. Those are two other pieces that I think you can kind of tie into this idea of AI. So with quantum computing, it's 2.4 million times better we make a joke because I always say a million times better for everything. I'm a little sarcastic, apologize. But this is literally 2.4 times million better in terms of like data processing than our current infrastructure.
I feel like it was more than that. 240 million.
240 million?
200. Yeah, they went.
240 million.
Right. The article was from the 11th of this month of July, and they went from 53 qubits to 70 qubits. And the difference is that the largest supercomputer is called Frontier, the most prevalent supercomputer. With 53 qubits, the supercomputer was behind the 53 qubit Google computer by only 6.18 seconds. Okay. With 70 qubits, the Frontier computer was behind 47.2 years. So it went from 53 to 70 qubits.
Okay. So what we're talking about here is the ability to process information, like so lightning fast. It's mind boggling.
Mm-hmm.
So think of current AI and then think of the ability to process information 240 million times better, and then apply that to all the great things they're doing in robotics.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we talk about efficiencies. We can remove human injuries. If that's a goal, you know the best way to remove a human injury?
Remove humans.
Remove the human.
Yeah.
The robot does the work, right? And with more efficiency than a human can do.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I'm thinking about the speed of this stuff and how fast it's going. Like, we're trying to get in the world. We're going to build all these cool things. But, you know, what does it look like in 20 years from now? 10 years?
Governments are going to be automatically suspect of this because of the, you know, they have constituents. If humans, they're voting for these politicians that are making these decisions, 100% they're going to be resistant to, I mean, you know, not all of them, but, and this goes to what we had kind of tried to go way deep, right?
Yeah.
Like you're the country of Vietnam, and you have, I don't know, 2% of your GDP is based on textiles, and so, you know, like we were talking about with Carhartt sewing and that sort of thing. And how do you justify to your people that you're going to replace them with robots?
You sell them a $3,500 Apple virtual reality machine and you plug them into the Matrix. I don't know. Wall-E, right? You're sitting there, and I'm hoping there's like a renaissance that like sparks within people, that they can kind of get back to nature and creativity. We talked about AI and music. Mm-hmm. AI. I just watched Indiana Jones, the new one, and there's like at least 30 minutes where Harrison Ford is in his youth, and you cannot tell. It is like he was resurrected or went in a time machine and came back and did the acting. It's pretty amazing what AI has now the power to do. So as that continues to go along, if people continue to embrace it, it seems like we're losing a little bit of ourselves. You know, we literally are getting plugged in.
Yeah, I do. I'm with you. I believe this whole concept of Renaissance, people are going to want what's real.
Yeah. You said kick a soccer ball, right?
Yeah. You're plugged into the Matrix, and you're, I can't comprehend, like, even sitting on my couch for a certain length of time, I'm like, my body starts to say, you can't do this for another half hour. You just can't do this. And I want to get up and walk and like you said, kick a soccer ball.
I hope. And but the opposite side of that, like you and me are similar. Like we want to be outside. We want to experience life in a little bit of a different way. Maybe it's some Gen X stuff. But there's a lot of people out there that aren't interested in that. And they would rather plug in and kind of, there's a whole, what's that, bed rotting? Have you heard about that?
Oh gosh.
You haven't heard about that? It's like a trending thing where people are like saying it's healthy to just sit in bed and watch TV or whatever. I'm sure it'll be a short-lived trend, but from like a mental health perspective, it can be good for you type thing, whatever. Not buying it.
It reminds me of my son was watching a YouTube, this YouTuber it put on his VR, and his whole thing was to challenge himself to be on the VR. It was like 48 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
And somebody brought him food, and He didn't even take it off to sleep. He had to sleep with it on. It's kind of weird.
Definitely weird.
Yeah. I mean, he kind of hated his life after that. He's like, no, this is terrible.
So all of this to say, we're just kind of really thinking about what the future looks like, how fast things are going to change. And I feel like this is a time in my life where I'm going to be experiencing new things that were unfathomable. Like I grew up with a pager, right? And a corded phone. And it was easy to transition to a cell phone, but this AI transition and that future, I think it's going to be much more of a disruptor.
Yeah, you wonder what what people get paid for around the world is utility or entertainment.
Entertainment, yep.
And that scale is, I believe, is going to tip to entertainment. So if you're not in the entertainment industry, to some degree, we're talking curious. Hundreds, I think, 100 years.
I'm not. I'm thinking 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
I think it's going to go fast. And entertainment is going to be one of those things where I think, what does that look like? Like, how many people are going to be responsible for that? If AI can create music and AI can create movies and images. All right. We're going on and on. I think this topic, you and I can talk forever.
How do we wrap it up?
So I think it's really about awareness. This is a media hype thing. Everybody's talking AI, and it could be easy to dismiss like all the other media that's out there. It's just constant noise. I get annoyed. I wake up in the morning and I look at my phone, and guess what? It's the same thing that was said 2 weeks ago with a little bit of a different change, and it's nothing's going to happen from it, whatever. But AI is, don't let it fool you. It is coming. It's going to be a disruptor. So in workers' compensation, think about how you can get in to fit in.
Yeah. What's the practical application? Mm-hmm. Exactly. Get in where you fit in. That's a great way to summarize that.
Sweet. So thank you to our people listening out there. I'd love to hear some comments, feedback, subscribe.
What do you think is how the practical application of AI and workers' compensation is going to look?
Yeah. Tell us how we can help you. We want to develop in that space. So let us know your thoughts.
For sure. All right, Frank. Good talking.
Have a good one.
Talk to you.